I was Tech Nine shows, Hobson shows, Yellow Wolf shows, Machine Gun Kelly shows, Mike Stud shows, Danny Brown. Any artist that came to town, I was the opener. Even who I hang out with is a decision that I have to take responsibility for because it affects them.
Hello, my fellow Martians. My name is Harry Mars, and this is the On Mars Pod, where we take a deep dive into creative professionals, entrepreneurs, and other inspiring Martians alike.
Yeah, those years felt so long, you know, just like, when's it gonna happen? How is it gonna happen? You never know. And then, yeah, we were early. We were early to the trend. There wasn't that many people that were shooting high quality videos. That moment changed everything. The Greatest dropped, and this is when iTunes was still big, and then that popped off, and first week it made like $60,000.
Hello, my fellow Martians. Today on Mars, we are joined by an artist, performer, and an entrepreneur. Everybody, please welcome Zach Beck, aka Futuristic. Thanks for being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, big dog.
Of course, man. It's been a long time coming. So
It's been a while.
We've met through Marcus, this modern Marcus.
Yeah.
So I produced the record for you, Hey, off of Never Too Late.
Yeah.
It's almost 2 years ago, I think, or something like that.
Time flies.
It's crazy how much time has flown.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, so I appreciate you having me be a part of that. And we became friends shortly after. We did some photo and video content after that. So it's nice to be able to link up on this platform, man. I appreciate you taking time to come on Mars, bro.
Of course. Yeah, welcome to Mars.
So you have an album called Ikigai coming out.
Yeah.
And it's coming out very soon here.
Yeah.
But I wanted to kind of talk about that, but also give a little bit of history for people that aren't familiar, because you've been doing this a very long time. So since you were 6 years old.
Whole life.
Yeah.
Whole life.
So you popped off here in Arizona over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And we never really talked about this, but you're from Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
But why did you come out to Arizona in the first place? And when was that?
Moved to Arizona. It was kind of on a whim. Like moms and pops split up. Moms went to nursing school in this super rundown town, and basically living there for 2 years, it was like we just wanted to be anywhere but there.
Okay.
So then it was like, okay, cool. Well, where can we go? You don't deal with the snow, you don't deal with that. So she was like kind of torn in between Georgia and Arizona, and she came out here for spring break while she was in college.
Nice.
And right away loved it and was just like, cool, I want to move there. So it was just, that summer after she graduated nursing school, we moved out here, and it was a breath of fresh air. And I genuinely, from day one, just other than the heat right away, getting off the airplane, like loved it here.
So how old were you when that happened then?
15.
Okay, so you kind of came in high school.
Yeah, sophomore year. I moved here sophomore
wow.
year, so I was 14, 15.
Man, so how was that coming from Illinois, rather?
Yeah.
How close was it to Chicago, by the way?
Like 2 hours.
2 hours? Okay, it was Bloomington. Yeah.
I lived in Bloomington, and then I lived in Danville for 8th grade and freshman year, then moved here.
Okay, so from being from Illinois, did you really feel like an outsider, being like a Midwesterner here, or like how was that as like a high schooler?
Yeah, but it was weird because I was just so ready for the change.
Yeah.
Like it literally was a breath of fresh air, and it was like, I would just go on walks by myself every day and like walk to the park and hoop. And, so I did have a cousin out here.
Okay.
So like he was the one link and the one person that I knew, but like we didn't chill at all really when I moved out here like that. Different groups, so I think it's easy for me to kind of reacclimate and meet people and stuff, especially doing sports and doing music. It's like you kind of have a gateway into whatever crowd you're trying to get into. So yeah, right away it was just like, cool, I don't know nobody, but anything is better than where I just came from. I moved a lot, at least school-wise, so I kind of had already been through that situation where it's like, I don't think I ever went to a school for more than like 2 years.
Okay.
Maybe 3. So I was used to being like, cool, I'm here, now I'm here,
kid.
now I'm here, now I'm here. And it's just like, cool, I'm a hoop and rap and hang out with everybody, and it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been the parallels, the hooping and the rapping from the beginning.
Yeah.
And so that's like something I want to go into, because your family, your dad is a musician. He's of all different types, and your brothers used to rap with them all the time.
Yeah.
And so I kind of want to talk about like that upbringing and like what that environment was like, because that was in Illinois.
Yeah. So growing up, it was cool because, well, crazy household. Like I'm one of 9, but we all live in different spots, and like so it'd be like cool. I'm at the crib, and then every other weekend my sister comes. The other weekends my older brother comes. Then my other 2 brothers come for the summer, and then you know what I'm saying. Then my parents split up, and my dad had 2 more kids. So then I'm seeing them every now and then, and you know so. Well, 3 kids really. My dad had three kids, so seeing them. So yeah, the dynamic was always crazy. But before they split, it was like my dad's rehearsals were always in our basement. So, you know, he always had a music set up. He always had his band come in. So I grew up, you know, there's pictures of me at 2 years old, you know, on the microphone yelling and whatever else. So I think just growing up and always hearing in different styles of music, you know, it wasn't like I grew up just listening to rap. It was like my dad played funk and stuff through the house. And then my brother got into Metallica and played heavy metal guitar nonstop. And then my other brother, he was the one that I rapped with. So like he really put me on to different rap stuff, you know? So it was like, and then my sister listened to country. So I really had this melting pot of like, okay, cool. Dominique's over. We're listening to country music because she's only here for 2 days. So like give her what she wants, you know? And then Joseph is downstairs playing Metallica. And yeah, so it was just a crazy blend of all music and like, just diving in. Yeah,
I love that, man. And even though you guys weren't in the same place at the same time always, you still were able to take influences from all of your siblings. I think that's so it makes sense because it's like all these parallels to like who you are today.
Yeah.
And the big thing is too with the real instruments. I feel like that's a really good point to bring up, where you weren't just listening to rap, like you said, where it's like these are real instruments. You're hearing live drums, you're hearing live bass, live guitar. And I think that's huge, man. And it's also kind of funny that like you were like listening to rock and stuff like that, and you end up like starting a band like later on, and then, like doing rock music. It's just like all these parallels. It's crazy.
Facts.
Full circle moments all around.
Big time. Yeah.
I want to talk about 10 years ago, you started making music videos with Jakob Owens. And that was a really crucial point because you guys were both in high school, or you guys knew each other in high school. And then when he went to film school, that's when you guys kind of started doing the music videos. Is that right?
Yeah. So he was already like he was the leader of like the yearbook film situation in high school. So he was already doing film and you know, on the weekends he'd make silly YouTube videos at his crib. And not music videos, but just random videos. And then, as soon as he went to ASU for film, so I was still in high school and he was at ASU because he's a year older than me. And I think that's when we shot my first music video. Was I think it was the summer after I graduated, actually. As soon as I graduated, we shot the first music video. So that would have been 2009.
That's crazy. And that was the one on Mill? With the flash or whatever. Yeah, dude. Because I was doing some research and I saw he was talking about that, where he like rented some like shitty Canon camera and like, but that's crazy. Like that started so much there, because then you really started going in on the videos. Then you started like linking people up and doing videos with them and getting features. And I just kind of want to talk about that era and how important like making those videos were, and kind of jumping into it, even though you guys didn't really know. Like, it was kind of like, let's make a music video. It was just kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall. What was that like feeling to feel like, oh wow, this is working, like off top?
It was we were early. We were early to the trend. There wasn't that many people that were shooting high quality videos. So I think that we came in at a perfect time of like the only people that were really, there was a few. There was like your Mac Millers, your Chance the Rap. Not even Chance, actually. Chance was a little bit after I started. But there was like Mac Miller, Mike Stud, G-Eazy, Hoodie Allen, like those type of dudes that were doing like the independent self-shot, you know, high quality music videos, or, you know, whatever you want to call it. So at that time, it was like anybody that had any sort of quality was getting picked up by blogs. And that's what sparked it into being like, oh, we're not just kids in Arizona making videos for our friends. Like this video, there's people in Columbia, Missouri. Like I remember my first diehard fan was from Columbia, Missouri. His name was Clayton Clemens.
Shout out Clayton Clemens.
Shout out Clayton. He broke his foot at my show and my little brother peed on his air mattress. Crazy story. Yeah. Clayton Clemens was my first diehard like fan that I can like remember. And so it was just like by getting on blogs, by people seeing the music videos that we shot and then blogs picking them up, they then were seen by the entire world, people around the entire world. And that's what opened up our minds and our eyes to be like, oh, there's a whole world that we can get this music to. And that's what got me like, how?
Yeah.
How do I do it?
Right.
So then that's what kind of opened up like, how do I make this a business? How do I get on every blog? How do I get this music everywhere? And I became obsessed with, okay, cool, this is how I'm gonna make it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even though you weren't making money off of it,
Right.
you were just hungry to like get more and more and more and
Exposure.
get more exposure.
How do we get as much exposure as possible? How many
Right.
blogs are there? How many platforms are there? Who else is making music that I can make music with them so that their fans can see it? Like all that opened up the doors for everything.
Right. And then shortly after that, it rolls into doing that viral video with Big Dawes, because then you did the Nerd Rapper in Compton.
Yeah, that's like,
ago.
I mean, 2009 to 2015. So that's a whole 6 years of filming music videos and doing all that stuff before like the huge moment that everybody saw. Yeah.
So that was, you were laying the groundwork with Jake, kind of doing those videos that were a little bit more low key, low budget, zero budget. Basically.
Yeah.
And but like that's the groundwork you needed to do to get to that point. And
for sure.
So before you did the Nerd Rap, did you do the video with Dizzy and Layzie Bone?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. How did that connection happen?
So like, before I made it, I started living off music like 2012.
Wow.
So like it took 3 years of grinding to be like, and not that I had crazy bills. I lived in somebody's garage.
Yeah.
And I think I had like $800 in bills a month. But it was just music video after music video, blog after blog, to then just finding other artists that were doing it. And the first artist that the artist that made me feel like it was possible was Hopsin and Machine Gun Kelly.
Yep.
When I saw those two, and I'll throw Mike Stud in there, but when I saw those two, they were more like me. They were chopping. They had their own lane. They had diehard fans that loved them. Mm-hmm. And so the first song I think my first song that touched 1 million was a different song with Dizzy Wright called Don't Mind If I Do. And that came out in 2012. And that was me reaching out, trying to get a feature from Hopsin. So I emailed his manager. His manager was like, Hop's not going to do it, but I got this guy, Dizzy Wright, we just signed, and this other guy, Jaron Benton, I just signed. Mm-hmm. So we can do the joint with, if you want them on it, boom, send the record through. I paid Dizzy, not to put his business out there, but I paid Dizzy $500. Wow. $500. And I also convinced them to put it on their YouTube channel so all their fans would see it.
That's huge.
I don't know why. I'm the only artist that they ever, I think, put on their channel, especially at that time. So I don't know why they did it, but they agreed to do that. And then what I was doing behind the scenes that people didn't really know is I was buying shows and like helping promote shows. So when there was an artist that I wanted to work with, like when Machine Gun Kelly came to town, it's like, cool, like let me hit this guy and like let me help you buy the show. So like I was the promoter bringing some of the artists to town as well, or I was the opener. So everybody that I ever wanted to work with, it was like, cool, I'll open the show. Let me put up $1,000 on it to make your life a little easier, and let's bring them out here. And then I'll shoot the music video with them. I'll do X, Y, Z. So it was always a play of like, who do you want to work with? When are they going on tour? How can you do a song with them? How can you link with them? And how can you grow? And then that kind of started buzzing in Arizona because I was on every show.
Yeah.
I was Tech Nine shows, Hopsin shows, Yellow Wolf shows, Machine Gun Kelly shows, Mike Stud shows, Danny Brown. Any artist that came to town, I was the opener. So I started building this buzz. And then I would sell so many tickets and I'd give away so much of my stuff that every artist would be like, yo, I've signed 50 shirts with your face on them today. Like, who are you? I've signed 100 of your albums. What's up, bro?
Yeah.
So then that would kind of leave a lasting impression, and they'd be like, okay, when I come to Arizona, like I need his number. Like I need him on my show because he's a big reason why I sold it out.
Exactly.
And then that kind of translated into, I would kind of negotiate, like, I'll do the Arizona show for you, but like now I'm able to sell out Arizona by myself. So like if I'm opening for you here, you got to give me like Denver, Salt Lake, Seattle, Portland, LA.
Wow.
So then I started just kind of hitting that circuit. And so all those things kind of were what was happening. So Dizzy's manager, Dame, was the first guy to give me like a decent tour run of like 15 shows opening for Dizzy because he saw kind of what I was accumulating. And that's how everything happened with I guess I'll smoke. It's funny because like I don't smoke.
Right.
And I quit smoking. I smoked more from the age of like 12 to 15 than I have after. And it was like I quit smoking for basketball when I moved out here. And Dizzy, when we were on the road, every night he's like, man, you gotta smoke, bro. Like, you need to chill out. You like da 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 da. I was a big drinker and he was a big smoker. So the song literally happened from being on the road and him being like, you need to smoke.
That peer pressure.
Peer pressure. Hey, it's some girls over there. They trying to smoke with us, you know? And I'm just like, I guess I'll smoke. And so it literally just became like a inside joke with me and Code Break, my DJ. And shout out to Cody. Like,
yes, for sure.
If Distro Kid was a thing back then, like I would have gave him a split of that record because like it was his idea of like, yo, if you're doing one with Dizzy, like you did one where you're just rapping, make it a stoner anthem for Dizzy.
It is. Yeah.
And so it is like it's one of the bigger stoner songs that exists. And it's like a Take Your Virginity stoner song where it's like, yo, so many people have been like, the first time I ever smoked was to this song because it's I guess I'll smoke.
Exactly. And so, like having Layzie Bone too. That's another like
so Layzie Bone is Dizzy's uncle.
Oh, what?
Yeah, so that's how that play happened was Dizzy's mom. I did a super terrible tour that was partially a headline. My first ever tour, like headline tour, was partially a headline and then partially with Dizzy and Hobson and them and partially with Layzie Bone. So it was like this crazy tour where she put me on some Layzie Bone shows in exchange for a verse. That's how he got on it. Yeah, bro.
Dude, there's so many layers to that. So like first off, like there's a lot of the at the beginning, your investment, I think that's very important to that story because you were investing your own money into purchasing tickets up front, paying these artists up front in exchange for the exposure. I guess for lack of a better term. And
for sure.
But that like proved to be so crucial to the growth of your career early on. And I think that's such a big point that like some people will overlook and almost like be not willing, especially at the beginning, to put up $1,000 just for the opportunity to get people in the room and to pay for people's tickets, to give them away and to not have to like sell tickets as much and basically show.
I was selling them.
You were selling. Were you giving out a lot or were you selling?
I wasn't giving away no tickets.
Oh, really? So
I was giving away my album.
Okay.
I would have people buy a ticket and I would give away my album.
Okay. So that was how you would fill up the room without having to like buy the tickets up front.
Yeah. I would buy tickets up front.
And then sell them back.
Sell them. Yeah, that was my whole play was like, yo, I was a Facebook group menace. So anybody who would, so obviously like I did have some fans, but the way that I sold so many tickets was the event pages on Facebook. So what I would do is I would buy the tickets and then anybody that clicked going or maybe on an event on Facebook, I would message them and be like, hey, saw you're going to the Machine Gun Kelly show. I'm actually opening. I'll hand deliver you the ticket so you don't have to pay a service fee. And I'll actually take $5 off and I'll bring them to your crib right now.
Wow.
And so I would sell 300 plus tickets to shows as a local. And promoters would be like, how is he doing this? What, like, this dude is just popping. And it's like, I wasn't popping yet. It was just the fact that I was grinding. I was delivering 30, 40 tickets a day to people that were already going to buy tickets anyways.
Yeah. And that's an investment of time right there. Like taking the time to reach out to people and meet up with them. And I'm pretty sure that's how Marcus met you, is going, like they reached out or, you know, like you guys met up.
I think I had him saved as in my phone as Marcus Mac Miller tickets. I think I want to say that's how I had him saved in my phone when I first like linked with him. I'm like, oh, you bought a ticket for me from Mac Miller, and then he started doing my Prove It shows and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's so funny. But like that's a big thing right there, like the investment of time and kind of putting that energy into yourself, and because that's the reason why other people weren't selling tickets, because they weren't doing that. They weren't making these. They weren't doing the going into seeing who's going and messaging them directly. I mean, even now people are like reluctant to do that, and like that's still a good play.
Yeah,
like
bro.
there's
Yeah.
So, and also I want to touch on one thing with the Dizzy Wright thing. I think that was perfect timing because like Dizzy Wright and Jaron Benton were really just getting started.
They both just signed, yeah.
And they were basically feeding off of Hobson's wave because he was already huge at that point.
And he was like my favorite artist at that time.
And that, I mean, all the shows you were naming too, like all those artists, you fit right in with that crowd. So I'm sure every time you played a show, you won their crowd over. So it's not like they had a bad time, like the crowd.
Right.
So it's like you gained so many new fans probably from all those shows.
Facts. Yeah.
Damn, dude. So that really started a whole wave right there. And then I guess like how long before the nerd rap was that then?
So I guess I Smoke dropped in 2014. So at this point, yeah, I'd been slinging tickets, doing shows, making music videos from 2009 to 2014.
So it's like 5 years of
grinding. I was able to quit my job, like I said, maybe 2012, 13. And then I guess I'll Smoke was like, oh, okay, I'm solid. And so that record was the money, that song and that album, which was Traveling Local, gave me enough money to move to LA. When I say enough money, not that much. I had like $20,000.
Right.
And so I took the $20,000, moved to LA and lived with Jake. And so we were roommates in LA. And that was probably a year after I Guess I'll Smoke dropped. Not even, because I moved there late 2014. So I Guess I'll Smoke dropped in like maybe February or March of 2014. I moved to LA in like September of 2014. And the first video I actually shot in LA was No Way. So I shot No Way, and I linked up with Big Dawes before that, and I did a prank with him before I did the nerd rap called Awkwardly Staring at Strangers. And so we just went up to people and was like,
in LA?
No, in Arizona.
Oh, in Arizona.
Yeah, I was always coming back and forth. I was here probably still every other week. So yeah, we would just stare at people. And so he posted that prank and then had a link to go to No Way at the end of that video. And like first day, that alone got No Way like 20,000 views. Jeez. And it was kind of like what blogs used to do for music. I'm like, oh, this is kind of like the new blog, big YouTubers. So after we did that, I'm like, how can I do more stuff with him and how can I make it directly correlate? Dawes did a prank called Nerd Raps in Compton first. He did it and he rapped.
Everybody listen, put your hands up in the air. I don't even know what the heck I'm gonna do, but my name's Ernie, so who the heck are you?
And I'm like, boom, light bulb. I gotta do that. Like, I gotta rap my song. If they're going crazy for Dawes, who has, no offense, no bars, you know, like they're gonna go nuts if I do this prank. And I don't remember if he hit me like, yo, you should do this, or if I hit him, or it was just a brainstorm or what, but that's kind of what it was. And then that dropped in March of 15. So basically a year after I Guess I'll Smoke.
Dressed like a Merkle, they concerned about me going to commercial, killing shows without rehearsal. If I'm before you watching this commercial, they committed to my lyrics, that's a verbal. Copying everything that I do, but you paternal, pissing on them like a urinal. I've been popping like a kernel, I cut everyone out the circle. The only one that's in it like a gerbil, you spoiled niggas is looking kind of curdle. Sheesh! Appreciate it. It's good, I should keep rapping.
Okay, damn. So there was a period of time where you were really just head down grinding, like gaining fans and exposure by doing
and
all
I was
these shows.
I was touring, I was doing all
in
that.
that time.
I had already been I was on tour when I dropped The Greatest.
Wow.
Yeah, on a headline tour.
Damn.
So I had enough fans where I had a 30 city headline tour that I was going on, and I dropped The Greatest intentionally the first show of that tour. So, that day.
And The Greatest is the first song on The Rise. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then The Rise, that album came out after you did all the
I think
nerd
The
rap
Greatest
stuff?
dropped in March, and then the album dropped in May.
Wow. And in that time, everything changed.
My whole life changed, bro.
That's crazy.
My whole life had changed. It almost like makes you want to cry. It was just like the dream that I had from 6 until I wasn't even that old. What was I, 23 maybe? 2014. What does that make me?
10 years
23.
ago? Yeah.
Makes me 23. Yeah. So I was still pretty young, but I felt like I'd been grinding forever.
Yeah.
And
sure.
Yeah, those years felt so long. You know, just like, when's it gonna happen? How's it gonna happen? You never know. And then that moment changed everything. The Greatest dropped, and this is when iTunes was still big, and then the album came out, and I always tell people, just because I have a lot of rappers that are fans, and it's not a brag. It's like, yo, I went from when I moved to LA, I had $20,000 in my bank account. I was investing it all into music. So I was at the point when The Greatest dropped, I thought I was going to have to move back to Arizona because LA expenses are a lot different than living in the homie's garage.
Mm-hmm.
So I was down to maybe having like 6 to 8K in my bank account. And I'm thinking like, yo, in a month or two, like I'm going to be broke.
Yeah.
Then that popped off, and first week it made like $60,000.
Off of iTunes sales? Because it went to number 1, right?
Yeah, it was number 2.
It was number 2? Okay.
Behind G-Eazy or Snoop Dogg.
But it was on like the top chart, like
and it
the top
stayed
charts.
there.
Yeah.
It stayed there. So
That's
what was
crazy.
crazy, so I was on tour and we dropped it. I remember I posted it in the hotel room, and as soon as I posted it, went to the venue. By the time I got to sound check, it was viral. So I'm like, yo, what's happening? This is crazy.
Yeah.
So we get to the venue, and the whole time we're just like watching it go crazy, go crazy, go crazy. And then, you know, you get your ticket counts every week. You know, the agent sends you, okay, you're at this and whatever. And it was like people were buying tickets based off of seeing that and becoming fans. So like the tour that was only going to have 50 people at every show to 75 people ended up having 200 people and 250 people. And like, it was just, everything was in real time. Damn. Meanwhile, the rise wasn't done, nor was it even like a full concept of an album yet. It was like, okay, we have to finish the album now. So I think that tour was probably all of March. I got back at the end of March, finished and made however many more songs I made in like a couple studio sessions, uploaded the album to TuneCore, put it up for pre-order April 12th to release May 12th. And then I'm like, okay, we need to do another Nerd Rap.
Yep.
And it needs to drop the day after the album so everybody can go get it. And Too Easy went equally as crazy, almost as The Greatest. I think it's at like 18 million views or something like that. And yeah, that was it. It went crazy. The album, The Rise was number 4 on Billboard. Yeah. You know, it was like we're outselling cats that have $10 million put behind their records off of nothing.
Independent.
Off of me and Jake and Dawes and Action, who produced everything at the time, and the other producers in LA. But yeah, it was just whole life build up to go crazy with that one moment.
Yeah. And it's amazing that it was called The Rise.
Yeah.
And because that's like, I mean, it just makes sense. Like that was the beginning of everything for real.
Yeah.
That shit's crazy. And it's like even like the artwork, something about like you, because it's like the one where you're like looking up.
Yeah.
It's like something about like looking up at like who you will become.
Yeah.
Hey Martians, real quick. I appreciate you taking the time to listen or watch wherever you are in the world. Over the last few months, the Martian family has grown so much. I could not be more thankful for all of my guests and every single one of you who continue to tune in every single week. Subscribers, ratings, likes, and comments all help us grow here on Mars. And it would mean the world. If you haven't already, please go to onmarspod.com/subscribe to subscribe on YouTube. Like and leave a comment, rate us on Spotify. All this good stuff helps keep the engine running to inspire Martians all over the world. P.S. Follow us on Instagram @OnMarsPod. Okay, let's get back to it. You're in it for life at this point. Like
I was a madman, bro. I was a madman for real.
I'm sure you went crazy, dude. Especially like going from like having not that much money to then making 60 grand off of an independent album. Like
I spent none of it either.
That's so important. I mean, that's why you still have money today.
Yeah, I spent none of it. I was not anymore. Now it's like, it's weird. It's one of those things like coming up, like I grew up save every dollar. Like my dad's a penny pincher like crazy. Still is to this day. Like bad, bro. Like he's the worst. He's the worst penny pincher of all time. So I grew up like, yo, I'm not spending no money. So like when that money came in, it was like the only thing I ever spent bread on was more music. Like how do I make better videos? How do I get better beats? How do I get better features? Like what do I do? You know, the first thing I bought was a tour van. Yeah. That was my first purchase ever of like anything. It's like I bought a tour van.
Did you buy it cash?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm like, cool. I'm buying that. It was like $30,000. Let's go. Because I'm going on tour. Why would I keep renting vans and whatever? I'm like, I do 2 tours. That's going to pay off what, you know, this is. So yeah, first thing I bought was a tour van. And yeah, I just saved that money. And then like that, it's crazy to look back because it almost doesn't even seem real. When I think about how much things happen from May of 2015 to like May of 2016, bruh, like I did, I think 4 or 5 tours and dropped 3 albums in a year and a half. Not even a year and a half, a year and 2 months. Because I did The Rise May of 2015, then did Coast to Coast with Devon that dropped that Christmas.
Yep.
Shot a music video for every song basically on both of those albums, dropped 12 remixes for that, did the song with A Great Big World that got me on Jimmy Fallon, Good Morning America, Good Day New York, like got me on all those, the Streamy Awards. I was on tour the whole time this was happening, so I was flying from shows to go do morning interviews, then flying back to another spot and doing another show, like had press and stuff in between that, and then got home to LA, did another tour with Mike Stud that was a 2-month-long tour, and then somehow between February and June shot a music video and made a whole album for every song on As Seen on the Internet, dropped that, did another world tour that I did 33 in America, 17 in Europe, and 5 in Australia. It was just like, yo,
You were
like,
busy, dude.
busy.
That's crazy.
Busy, all in like a year and a half.
Right.
Yeah.
And this was like the 2015 and 2016
Mhm.
time. And that you were young, man. So you had the energy too. And it's like,
Yeah.
it was almost like you had the confirmation that this is working. So I'm going to triple down on it. And that's,
Yeah.
sounds like that's exactly what happened. And that's, I mean, that created the longevity, that the fact that you're still relevant and making music and having listeners and making new albums and stuff like that today. That's a testament to like
Yeah.
that foundation that you built at that point, that your younger self really set yourself up.
Facts. Yeah. It was a lot at once. It was
Yeah,
going crazy.
man.
I felt like I only slept on planes, trains, and automobiles. For sure.
Actually.
For sure.
Yeah. So I want to touch on something. So you've always surrounded yourself with a really good network of people, a really nice support system that helps, build the machine that is Futuristic.
Yeah.
Even though you do a lot of stuff yourself, you always have people around you, family and friends that you care about, that care about you.
Yeah.
And I just want you to talk about the importance of creating genuine connections, both professionally and personally, and how important that was to you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting looking back because a lot of those people that were there are no longer there. And obviously there's been, from people stealing from me to whatever, things that have happened from managers and merch people and best friends. But at the same time, like looking at it, it's like, memories are worth so much, and like enjoying the moment is worth so much. And then even when you do make the mistakes or you put trust in the wrong people or whatever, it's like, as long as I'm genuine to me and as long as I'm like giving my best and I'm really, love is the most important thing in the world. And I can genuinely say like the people that have ever been on my team, like I genuinely loved them, and still do, so I think that in both sides, like whether you get burned or not, because you hear so many people that do get burned, right? I think that just loving the people around you and taking care of the people around you and building genuinely is the only way to move. And it's pretty apparent when people aren't doing that. Like, especially in this industry, you see so many people that use everybody as a stepping stone, and it's like, cool, they're with you when you're up, and then when you're down, it's like they're not answering calls, they're not answering texts, they're not rocking with you. And I think what's cool is on every level, like I have artists that never made it that I'm really cool with. I have artists that were once smaller than me that are way bigger than me, artists that were way bigger than me that are now way smaller than me, and people that I've met along the way where it's like, I rock with you. Like I got you. No matter what, like I got you. So if you're not building genuine relationships, you're probably a bad person, low key. And,
For sure.
and you're probably not happy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if everything is transactional and everything is a setup and whatever, it's like you're gonna reach a point in life where you're no longer happy. And even the Harvard study of happiness talks about that, and that's something that it changed my perspective and helped me like lift my head up from just the grind of being like, yo, the people that are the happiest and live the longest are the people that have genuine relationships that they take to the grave.
Exactly.
And the people that, have a purpose and do things and spend time with their family and all that. So it wasn't a dollar amount. And actually the Harvard study of happiness talks about how the perfect amount of money, it's still a lot, but it's like people that make $200,000 a year are happier than people that make $1 million a year. and are way happier than the people that make $1 billion a year. And it's because you have this level of being a human and you appreciate things and you have genuine relationships, where when you're so rich or you're so poor, you're just in survival mode. So it's hard to have genuine relationships because you have to grind every second of every day. And then when you're this rich, everybody just looks at you as a bank.
Yeah.
So like the actual happy place is not being the richest man alive or being the most famous artist in the world. So for me, it's like, how can I do what I love, and how can I help others do the same thing, and how can I love my brothers and my people?
For sure. And you've had the same mindset regardless of who it was. If you really felt like that and you felt genuine about them, even if they ended up burning you in the end, you kept the same energy the whole time. And I think that's the most important thing, where it's like, if you make the mistake, then it's just like, oh, sorry, I got to cut you out of my life now because you fucked over my trust. And now it's just like, I'm sorry, but like I loved you, but now it's just like, and I still love you, but like I can't work with you anymore. Like you can't be around me because like I can't have this negative energy when I'm giving out all the positive energy.
And that's the hardest thing about everything is like, it's how do you keep it separate? How do you, I've had every one of my family members basically has lived with me. Every one of my homies has lived with me. Every business employee has became my friend, so like it's definitely hard to separate the two. But at a certain point, it's like if something's bad for business, you no longer can be part of the business.
For sure.
And if something is toxic to my mental, and if something is dragging me down, then I have to cut it off.
Exactly.
And so that doesn't mean that I don't love you. And in some instances, it actually means that I really love you. Like I can't allow this. Clearly, no matter what I'm saying to you and no matter what I'm doing and what influence I'm trying to give you, you're still exuding these toxic behaviors. And maybe what you need is the tough love and the harsh reality that you got to go figure this out. You have something within you that, whether it's a jealousy towards me or whether it's whatever you have to go figure that out, because being around me is clearly not helping.
Yeah.
So it's definitely tough love, and it's something that I've had to do, and it's not easy to do from friends, family, and even women,
Sure.
cutting people off and just being like, yo, I really do have love for you, but you got to go over there. You can't be over here.
It's best for both of us. And it's
even if you
like
don't see it right now.
Exactly. And it's like, because genuinely, like if they're exerting negative energy, they're not happy either.
Facts.
So there's like a reason for that. So it's like the only way is to move forward. And there's something that you touched on too, where when people are like stepping on other people and using everything super transactional, I think it's 100% they're the least happy people, because of the fact that they don't have genuine love around them. And the people that are genuine, they can see right through those people, so they don't even try to like stay connected to you, because they already know like you're not genuine.
And it's not your job to make them happy, and it's not your job to figure it out for them, and even once they get there, it's not even your job to go back.
Exactly.
And it doesn't even mean, even if they find that happy place, it doesn't even mean that you need to allow them back in your life. It's like, yo, I see you. Good stuff. I'm proud of you.
Exactly. Still have love for you. Yeah, man. I love that. I'm glad that we touched on that, because that's something that you've done. I mean, Cody is a big example of that. Like he's been there from the beginning, and it was like off a Facebook post that he reached out to you. It's just like from the beginning, it was genuine. You guys locked in, and he still rocks with you today.
Yeah, facts.
Like that's huge.
That's
man.
my dog.
Heck yeah, man. Shout out Cobra.
Shout out young Cobra, man, out there crushing it with Echo right now.
So you've been always big on features.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about features a little bit, because that was something that was obviously, I mean, with the Dizzy Wright, Layzie Bone thing, that was big. But talk about like, I guess we kind of touched on that, like the networking thing and being able to like buy onto tours and bringing people on. But how important were those features really to your growth to get to a point where like you were holding the weight, where then you were the one doing features on other people's stuff? And like, I mean, you've been on a couple of records I wrote down on here. You actually featured on an old Jelly Roll song.
Yeah.
Tech Nine, obviously, and the Echo you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So like those are like three artists that are huge. And I mean, at the time they weren't at, well, I mean, Tech Nine was different, but like Echo and Jelly Roll, I feel like those were kind of
they're bigger
early.
now than they were then.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just want to talk about like how important that was, and how did you have like the foresight to know who to work with, and like were you just going off of your own gut feeling of like what you fucked with? Or?
In the beginning, I think the whole industry, a lot of it is affiliation. So you got to think whether it's shows, whether it's features, whether it's blogs, whether it's a niche lane that you're in, whoever is in that niche is who you should be working with. Because if they I knew if somebody liked Hobson, they would like me.
Yeah.
Maybe not
sense.
every single one of them, but we have similar traits. I knew the same thing, even though MGK is different than Hobson. I knew if you liked MGK back in the day, you were going to like me.
Yeah.
So my whole thing was, how do I get in that ecosystem?
Right.
And so when it came to features, it was just like, cool, who's in the ecosystems I want to be in, and how can I work with them, and what does it look like? So, and then you got to kind of see like, okay, how are they moving? What is it? And then obviously you still want to build with them genuinely, because if it's not genuine, you're going to do the one feature and never work with them again. And you're probably going to have to pay them for the feature. Where if I genuinely rock with you and we become homies, and I'm just showing you love because I genuinely like Dizzy Wright.
Right.
So it's like, yo, he's mad dope. Show him love, comment on his post, text him, whatever the case may be. And then it's like, you can get the feature for free. It's like, I bought the Don't Mind If I Do verse, but I haven't bought a feature since then.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't pay for any of the other features that I ever got. It was all just aligning myself and bringing value to their situations. Like, yo, you need something, use my van. Yo, you need something, here's this, here's that.
Yeah.
But as far as getting features with anybody, I've done features with people that don't necessarily align with me, and my fans don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I had 24 Hours do a hook on my song. Nobody cared. You know what I mean? So if people aren't talking about the same thing as you and don't represent the same thing as you, and like you can't see a crossover in your fans, like I could get a feature from a huge artist right now and it would do less for me than somebody that shares similar goals, values, and music style with me. So I think that that's a big thing when artists are trying to get features. It's like, you're not trying to get the biggest feature. You're trying to infiltrate somebody's ecosystem and stay there.
Right.
And that's the same with shows or anything else you do. Buying onto a tour of an artist that isn't similar to you makes zero sense, because you're not going to retain any of that fan base to take them with you to then make back your money on that investment.
Right.
So that's the whole thing, is like, you just got to weigh out the situation. And then as far as it goes to, same thing applies when I'm here and I'm trying to work with people here. I realize that I'm here and they're here. Then as I get here, it makes even more sense. When I'm here though, there's somebody that's here that one day is going to be here or here. So it's like, as I saw artists on the come up, of course I charge fee. I have a feature fee for some people, but if it's somebody that I believe in and genuinely is like, yo, this guy is going to get here one day, and like I rock with his music and his message and him as a person, then let's do it.
Yeah.
So, and if they're dope, let's run it. So I think that it was just always being like, this guy's dope. We're similar. My fans will like him. So there's also a cool point of putting somebody on. Like, I've always enjoyed that. I've always enjoyed the fact that like, yo, yeah, y'all know about this guy? You don't? Let me show you.
Yeah.
There's something cool about that. Like, a lot of people have told me, even when they meet me at shows, like, bro, you put me on to 10 of my favorite artists. It's like, there's people that didn't know about NF before me.
Wow.
There's people that tell me that, like, he's obviously far surpassed anywhere that I've ever been, but there are people that discovered him through our song together.
The Epiphany, right?
Epiphany. Yeah. So
that's one of your biggest songs still.
Yeah.
Yeah. So features have, like, it's kind of like a double thing where it's like, they're very important, but you also have to do them correctly.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just like go after the big guys and expect them to like bow down, and like you can't expect to get things for free when you're not even connected, and like,
yeah.
So there is like some sort of like relationship building within the features that you got as well, and that was a big part of how you got
for
these
sure.
features.
Because even if you buy a feature, that artist doesn't care about you. They care about the bag you gave them.
Exactly.
So it's like, cool. What's my obligations for this? I just have to do the song. Cool. I'm never posting it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's such a good point. I mean, I've even heard from like Wiz Khalifa's big artist, but I've heard features that he's done where I'm like, that dude literally just collected a bag, and then
somebody gave him 50 bands after a show, and he walked over to the studio and smoked 20 joints in the studio, laid a verse, and then walked away. Does not remember it.
Yeah, doesn't post anything about it.
No.
Like,
no. There's so many of those.
Dude.
So many of those.
So speaking of other artists, So you had some lyrics in the song "I'm Him" that's on
Yeah.
Ikigai coming
Yeah.
out here in
Yeah.
a few days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you talk about how you manage Oswin and Anakin and Michael Manelli and Tony 22 and a bunch of these artists, and I just kind of want to talk about that. And I mean, you talked about like you love putting people on to things, and
Yeah.
I think that ties directly into this, where it's like managing artists and how that kind of changed things for you and how your mindset switched and what does that feel like and how important is that for you?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it kind of goes back to the very beginning where it's like the first two artists I ever like, I guess, quote unquote, I don't even want to say discovered. The first two artists that I ever saw that I felt like were way smaller than me, but could be way bigger than me. Devon Terrell and Kyle. Those two artists were like the first two, and not that Kyle was way smaller than me. He just started a little after me. But the first time I saw him, I'm like, oh, this kid is about to be out of here.
Yeah.
So like I always had like, how can I help those people? So even when he was putting his stuff out, it's like I would talk with his manager and be like, yo, you should submit to these blogs. Like, yo, you should come open for me on this show. You'll gain fans. Yo, you should do this, you should do that, or this is how my guy's running ads, this is how it's working for me.
Right.
You know, so like from the very beginning of my career, even when I was a nobody, I always felt like if somebody's good, I'd love to help.
Yeah.
Wherever that gets me or doesn't get me, it didn't matter. So, you know, as the years go on, because I did it independently, naturally so many artists asked me like, how? So that turned into like, I was helping artists get on playlists. I was helping artists get reaction videos. I was connecting artists to do features. Like NF has Tech Nine and Hobson on his album. Both of those came from me.
Wow.
So it's like I always was plugging, like, and never asked for anything. And then it came to a point where I'm like, I'm responsible for a lot of stuff and I have $0 to show for it, which is cool. But like, I think once I started to really value my time, it's like, I really do want to keep helping people, but I have to monetize my time because my time is my most precious asset, especially now being married and having kids, which came later. Right. But just my time became more valuable to me. So that's when all my side businesses kind of started, was like, okay, cool. I've already been, everything that I did on Indie Amplify, I was doing before Indie Amplify existed. I just wasn't charging.
Exactly.
You know, and then same with managing artists. I was always helping hella artists, but never really asking for anything, you know, just building that genuine relationship with them. So then when I found a couple artists that I really, really like loved as people and I loved their music, I'm just like, this should be a thing because you're more talented than me. There's no reason why you shouldn't be popping. And so that's kind of when I met the circle that's around me now. I met all of them in 2020.
Oh, wow.
With Dropout Records is how I met Vinjay, Michael Manelli, a few other artists, and like I had a genuine relationship with Vinjay and Mike just from chopping it up with him for 3 days after they signed a 3-song deal with me and Big Dawes. So that's how I met Mike. I met Anakin the same time, and George was already managing Anakin and managing Oswin. So basically how Support the Homies management started was George came to the table with Oswin, Anakin, and Chris Rivers, who's Big Pun's son. And I was like, well, I really believe in Michael Manelli. Let's start this management company. And there was a couple other artists in there, but that's how it started. Was like, yo, we just want to support the homies to get to where they need to be because clearly they weren't doing the right things to get there. Even though I always say like, I'm the least talented one on our roster. Like y'all all do so much. Y'all be producing, engineering, you know, rapping. Like Oswin to me is the best rapper in the world. Mike is a phenomenal singer. Like everybody that we have on the roster does things that like I can't do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just came like, how can I put my business mind to impact these dudes' careers and blow them up? You know, because the coolest thing to me would be, yo, everybody's bigger than me, and like I'm at the crib with the kids and everybody's on the road, and I'm like, great job, fellas.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's like it's like that's how the story feels like it should play out, where it's just like almost
and
like
it kind of already is, yeah.
Like, in I guess to kind of, for lack of a better term, like you became their like Jedi master, if that makes. Were you a Star Wars fan?
I'm not a Star Wars fan.
I recently became one. That's the only reason why it's relevant for me. Like I recently, like I'd never watched him in my life. Watched for the first time like this past year.
Oh wow,
dude. huge fan. But
Anakin lives, obviously, Anakin.
So yeah,
lives off Star Wars.
Yeah, so Anakin, so basically like Anakin Skywalker, his like Jedi Master was Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Where like you're Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're the Jedi Master to these guys, like showing them the ways of the Force. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
For lack of a better term. And it's just like meaning like basically taking all these things that you've tried and done and you've seen and you've been able to successfully do and put them on. And I think, like you said, it's like you've always been doing it, but to put it into like a business, I think that it makes sense that that's the way the story goes. So I'm glad that you kind of made that pivot and kind of because you've been so good at it and you've been,
thank you.
Of course, man. And it's like, I really do feel like Osmond and Minnelli, those two guys, I feel like are like crazy. And like in 5 years from now, like those guys are going to be in a whole new space.
And Pertinence is going absolutely nuts.
I didn't even mention Perp, bro. He's huge.
Pertinence is going nuts. Tony 22 is going nuts. Buffalo Farm is going bonkers.
That's Tony 22's other project, right?
Yeah.
Dude,
So
man.
Everybody on literally everybody. I mean, even just now, like 5 of us were on tour at the same time.
Yeah, that's
so
sick.
You know, it's just like everybody's really winning in completely different lanes. Like that was another thing that was important to me, was like making sure that nobody's stepping on anybody's toes and there's not a look that comes through where we have to debate, yo, who do we give this to?
Right.
Or like, oh, should we, like, it's who do we sign over here to this label? Or like who makes the best sense for this tour? It's like everybody's different and has their own lane, so we never have to do that. And that was important to me, of being like, I don't want to sign a bunch of people that are just like me. I don't want to sign a bunch of people that just do one thing. It's like, I want people that are in each lane, so when a look comes, we don't have to even think about who it's for.
For sure. Yeah. And then on that note too, you can also use those artists and build tours together. Like for instance, the Minnelli Tony 22.
Yep.
Like,
and we just did Chris Calico and Vinjay, which we managed both of them. So
and they're very similar, and the same way that Tony 22 and Michael Minnelli are similar. So it makes sense to do it like that. And it almost gives you more like spread, because then you don't have to worry about getting more local acts and finding new people that make sense. And so dude, I love that you did that. And it's like, for sure, I feel like that's like your future business. That's going to be like the main cash cow. Like,
and I'm
managing other people.
I think
too.
Most importantly, I'm just passionate about it. Like I really love all those dudes, and I really want to see all of them win. So, and it's cool to see them. And I don't even want to take credit for their victories, because like on their own, they're obviously, like, I come in and I help here, like, you know, give game and use my resources, and cool, here's my van, and oh, let me hit this agent, and I do all the manager things, and I work very hard on it. I spend a lot of time on it, but it's more so like they are talented and crush, and even without me, I think that they could do damage. It's just, I can help you get there quicker.
For sure. And it's almost like keeping them on track, because it's, as an artist too, it's very easy to like get not only discouraged, but like lose track and lose focus on what's supposed to happen next.
Well, and it's, as an artist, right? Like I had a manager who, most artists don't have a manager that's an artist. Yeah. So like there's times that, you know, creative funks happen, or this happens, or your mind goes to a certain place. And it's like, if you're not an artist, you wouldn't understand the place that they're in. Yeah. Right. And also, it's not like I'm a failed artist that didn't make it. It's like all those guys want to own property and have, you know, all the things that I was able to get off of this music. Yeah. So it's like, even if you're second guessing what I'm saying, like, you have to look at the proof in the pudding and be like, okay, maybe I'm bugging, you know? So I think that that's a big thing. And the game has changed. So there's some things where like I have to learn and I have to adapt and I have to trust the artist. Like maybe I'm wrong and maybe they're right, you know, about this situation. But if that doesn't work, come over here and try this thing that I've successfully done, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so it's just, it gives you somebody to trust and somebody to lean on, because you saw it happen for me.
Yeah, exactly, man. And it's almost like you can take them under your wing without like straight up Lil Broing them. And I think I'm sure that they really appreciate having that like support system that you give to them.
Yeah, somebody to bounce ideas off of that's been where you're trying to go.
For sure. And I mean, even on the note of like adapting and doing new things, like for instance, the TikTok thing, like you were never huge on TikTok, but then like you told Manelli to do it and that changed everything for him.
Yeah.
And it's just like hundreds of thousands of followers later.
52 days of videos getting 12 views and then one popped and now
that's all it is.
His life is different.
And it's like all because you pushed him to do it. And it's like, and being an artist, it's easy to just be like, I don't really feel like it. But then when you have someone pushing you like, hey, it's gonna work, stay on the mission.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, man, the Indie Amplify, shout out Indie Amplify, shout out Support the Homies, shout out all those guys, man. You're all gonna be doing great things, man. So 100%. So let's talk Ikigai, bro.
Yeah.
Let's talk Ikigai.
Yeah.
So first off, Ikigai. It's on my shirt here. This is the official Futuristic merch.
Big old facts. Big old facts.
So let's define it, man. For people that don't know what Ikigai means.
Yeah, Ikigai, there's a couple different ways to kind of lay it out, but Ikigai is basically your life's purpose, what gets you up in the morning, what things in your life that intersect to give you purpose, you know, and keep you happy and keep you, you know, motivated, you know, and it's your Ikigai. It's your reason for being, an all-encompassing joy. It's all those things kind of bundled into one.
And it's a Japanese term, is that correct?
It's a Japanese term, yeah.
Okay, and that's the reason for Japanese characters in the branding.
Yeah.
And so if anyone's questioning why that is, it's like just look up Ikigai and you'll find so many different definitions. Like actual dictionary type definitions, and then also just like that where it's almost like interpretations of. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing is like what you take from it. Yeah. So Ikigai was produced by one guy, Hunter Drake.
The album, yeah.
Yes, yes, the album.
Yeah.
The album Ikigai was produced by Hunter Drake. Yeah. This is the first time you've ever done that?
No.
So you've done one producer for the whole record before?
Yeah. In the beginning of my career, I think my first 3 albums were all produced by Action.
Okay. The beats and everything.
Yeah. Dream Big, Chasing Down a Dream, TGIF were all Action. And then Traveling Local was mostly Action. So the beginning of my career, Action was my engineer, my producer, my ad guy, and my 50-50 business partner with everything.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so Action did it all in the beginning. And then I did I Am and Zachary Lewis, that 2-album kind of like joint venture with this dude named Boy Lord. And we made everything from scratch in person. And then this is like the 3rd producer that I've done a full and actually on the Boy Lord albums there was like 2 or 3 songs that were other people, but most of it was Boy Lord.
Okay, yeah, because that was something that I feel like was you were really like adamant about like I don't want any other producers. I remember during this album cycle, and it was kind of like intentional for I mean reasons that I assumed were for consistency and for just like so that way you can just mesh with one dude for the whole thing and just have that be the album.
Yeah,
was that the intention?
It was kind of like I feel like we kind of all had a moment in the studio. The whole album was made at the Lab, which is my partner George with the management business. That's his studio. So me, George, my homie Alco, who was just my DJ on tour, but really he's my engineer.
Yep. He was just on the pod.
Yeah. And he's a great artist as well. And then Hunter, who produced the whole thing. And I just felt like Hunter, hearing his beats, I'm like, yo, these are nuts.
Yeah.
And so hearing the first couple and being like, I want more of these from you. So I want to push you to make more. And then we are having moments together in the studio, and the album just felt therapeutic. It felt like it was an experience in itself. And so I wanted to experience it with the same people instead of being like, yo, I want to hit up all these random producers that live in other places. Like, no, let's lock in the studio. Let's figure out what we're missing. Let's talk and let's let these conversations turn into songs. Let's have moments to these and build something incredible. Yeah.
Damn. So how did you meet Hunter? Was it just like online type?
Good old George. George is always discovering new folks. I don't even know how he found Hunter, to be honest.
Hunter's young, man.
Yeah, he's like 19 years old.
Yeah.
He might have just turned 20.
Yeah.
But yeah, George was just like, yo, I got this producer. You got to meet him. You got to hear his stuff. And actually the first session we did was horrible.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't Hunter's fault per se. But I left the session like, never again, bro. He's not it. And then after that, the first song that I recorded was Ikigai. I got that beat and was like,
home run.
yeah,
for
and
sure.
I think it all just happened. It's just a timing thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was just like I didn't know I wanted to make an album. I didn't even know I wanted to really rap. I was coming off the whole Rock project, which is one of my favorite albums I've ever made, but I was coming off the Rock project, and what happened was the whole Ikigai situation and concept of it is what inspired me to start writing and inspired me to like, what is my actual purpose? Like, what is my, I've been doing all these side quests, but like, what really makes me me and what really fills up my cup? And I watched this special called The Blue Zones, and it like was eye opening. And the Blue Zones talks about different places in the world where people live to be 100 longer than anywhere else,
right?
Or more frequently than anybody else. So the first spot they went to was in Japan, and they talked about, what makes these people in Japan live to be 100 way longer than way more than in other places? And so they talked about Ikigai, and it was just like, I really, really relate with this, and I really connect with this, and like, I want to live to be 105 and be there to see how everything happened with my family, and my great grandkids. So that kind of sparked this new life of like, fam, I'm 32. Like I still got 70 years left.
Yeah.
So like, am I gonna spend my next 70 years like not on stage and like not being an artist and not, giving my message to the world and just work behind the scenes? It's like, nah, I have really important things to say.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of people that I've connected with and a lot more people that I want to connect with. And I genuinely believe that like I can influence people to enjoy their lives more, be happier people, be better people, be more driven people. And I'm doing myself and everybody else a disservice by not making music and not making music with a purpose. So this album, you can almost hear the songs that were added later are more purposeful than the ones that I made in the beginning. Because at first I was like, yo, I just want to rap again. And it was like for sport. And then it's like even some of the switch ups on the album, it's like the second half of the song is the purpose and the intent. Even Ikigai, it's like that second half of that song is like, people cried every night when I performed that on tour, and the song Each His Own, which is the craziest beat I've ever rapped over. The second half of that song is just like crazy. It's just deep and it's purposeful. And Clarity, the last song that I added, is, about finding faith and finding clarity. So really, like, I'm just on a mission to spread a message that can help people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's something that this album was birthed from your thoughts to like make yourself a better version of yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing, where it's like, this wasn't a rap album just to put another album out.
Not at all.
This was something that like basically came to you in the form of like self-discovery.
Yeah.
And I think it very much shows. I mean, I've listened to this album so many times front to back since, you sent it to me however long ago, when it was still not even finished.
Oh yeah.
And I actually recently, when we booked this interview, I went to the gym and I was listening to it front to back again, and I ran from and listened to it from top to bottom, and I feel like you can hear your growth, and it sounds like a grown up record. Like this is not just a talk shit rapping record. Like you talk about real things. You talk about your family, your faith, your kids, and past women, and how you used to be a bad guy to a certain degree. And there's a lot of internal like growth that I feel like happened on this album. So I think I just want to say, like, you did a great job encompassing that energy into this album, dude. And I love it, dude. I love it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, that means a lot. It's kind of weird because it feels like for who I am and who I'm going to continue to be and evolve into, this feels like my first album.
Wow.
And I've never felt like that before since my first one. Like, I've never felt like this is my first project. And with that comes like a peace of mind, I guess, because once you have those big moments that I had in 2015 and in 2016, you're chasing them.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been chasing them. And this feels like the first time where, like, not that I don't care what happens, but I kind of don't care what happens. Like, I love what I did, and I think I'm still getting better.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm still diving deeper into my purpose and my mission. And so this feels like the entryway to who the world is going to know me as for the rest of my life, to be honest, for the rest of my career. Like, this is the entryway to that. And it feels really cool and it feels really good. And like, even with this tour coming up, it's like, I don't care if there's 20 people at a show. Like, I don't care if there's 250 people, 300 people, 500. I don't care. Like, I care about giving my message to those people, and those people feeling like, yo, like, he's helping me be a better person, and his message and everything that he's saying I resonate with, and it's giving me clarity.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
The mission is different now, and
Yeah.
and it's different now.
Yeah.
But like, for real though, it's like, and when you're going into it with that intention, sometimes you just feel happy about it regardless, versus being disappointed when things don't meet the metrics that you want, or hit the numbers,
it's
all that stuff.
It's not about numbers for probably the first time, and I couldn't tell you how long.
And that's a hard like thing, because I think even a lot of people that are coming up that don't have numbers focus too much on the numbers, and that totally stifles their creativity and passion for the creative project that they're working on.
Facts.
So the fact that you've been able to kind of distance yourself from that mindset and come back to self and reflection and discovery and all this stuff, and write from that place, that's, I think, why this album translates completely different than some of your old records, because a lot of the times it was just like, I just want to make a dope record that I can go on tour with and sell a bunch of tickets and get people hype and whatever. And like, because that's like your whole thing, is like hype shows.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
So it's like kind of taking a step back and doing a little bit more laid back, like almost some of this stuff is like lo-fi style, you know, where it's just like, you're like, people got to listen. They got to like, versus like just turning up to the flows. It's just like, and you rapping fast. It's like they're actually listening, and like some people are crying at the shows and starting to probably feel things about like their own mental like issues and things they're going through, and like things that they can relate to. So I think this might even tap into a whole nother realm of audience that you've never really had before.
Facts. Yeah. I mean, I got to see it. I got to see it in real time when I just went on tour with Prof. I got to see and it's not just the music either. Like, I was actually up last night talking with my wife about it, and she was like, because the singles I've released haven't been the deeper songs on the project.
Right.
It's different now, as deeper, but like most of the songs I've released don't have that. They're not the ones that are the meat and potatoes of this project, you know? So my wife was just last night like, yo, you know, talking about how people are digesting this more positive version of me and this more mission-driven version of me through the music. And I'm like, they're actually not yet.
Nah.
Like, the songs that I've released were the first few records that I made for the project, which are the bouncy rap records. But I think just my aura in general and who I am and how I feel is just resonating through social media and through just life, human to human, person to person. And it resonated on stage, and the conversation that I had on stage with the audience is the thing that people came to the merch booth when they met me. And that's the thing why those people are buying tickets to my tour, is because the things that I said on Ikigai and the things that I said before I performed Ikigai, they resonated with. And the fact that I'm sober, and the fact I'm a dad, and the fact I'm a husband and a good one, like, all of those things resonated with people. Like, I had a dude come up and be like, yo, I need to be a better husband. Wow. I had a dude come up and be like, yo, I was debating going sober, and like, I'm going sober. I had girls give me their coins from their AA meetings, being like, yo, I'm this long sober from crazy drugs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So everything that I'm kind of like, I guess, representing for some people, it's not something that's often represented in rap, especially if it's not Christian rap.
Absolutely.
It's something to where, like, it's money, cars, clothes, hoes. That's, you know, kind of the stigma of mainstream rap. And it's like, these people are going to be able to take pride in being a good husband, a good father, being sober, going after things and making yourself a better person, you know? So I think that's the most important thing about my new music and just me in general. I just want to keep being better too.
Exactly. And that's it. And that's coming from a genuine place where you're trying to become a better version of yourself. So therefore you're giving music to people to become better versions of themselves just by you learning from your own struggles and things. And I think that's the best way to learn is from other people's struggles.
Right.
And I think that's a big thing is the sober thing. And I want to talk about that because this is the first time in an album cycle that you've been sober.
Yeah. And definitely the first time I've toured sober.
Yeah.
First time I've done many things sober.
Yeah. So and it's been over a year now. So congrats, man. It's a big deal, especially like you weren't even ever heavy into drugs ever. And like you never even smoked. Like, so it was the drinking. It was literally just like the drinking.
Yeah.
And like you used to be a turn up guy. You were a liquor man. So it's just like that's people that drink like understand that there's a difference between like someone that just drink a casual beer and then like someone that like likes to take shots.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of going from that to then being completely sober, stone cold, and now like loving that.
Yeah.
Like how has that changed your mindset and your like professional life and your personal life?
Yeah, I think that drinking it, I mean, just to give a backstory of like how much I was drinking, right? Like I was probably drinking on tour like close to a bottle a day or more of Ciroc.
Yeah.
You know, I would drink for radio interviews, I would drink for meet and greets, I would drink for the show, I would drink for the after party, I would drink in the green room. I was drinking all day long.
Cup in hand all the time.
Yeah. And then when I started making that album from scratch in 2019 is really when I started drinking more at the crib every day.
Yeah.
To where it was like I started drinking to make the music. And then even when I started the businesses, I felt like, yo, that was my first time ever just sitting down and working all day on something that wasn't creative necessarily. So by 2:00, I felt like I needed to drink. And so it was just like it turned into this, I'm always intoxicated. Always, you know? So that was kind of the start of it. And then I think once I found faith, I stopped ignoring signs of stuff, right? Like once I started to pray and ask for clarity, I started to realize like, yo, I be getting mad signs and just ignoring them.
Yeah.
Right? Like you get a feeling or however you want to relate it, like, oh, my gut's telling me this or, oh, whatever. The universe is telling me this, however you relate it to whatever you relate it to.
Mm-hmm.
Signs happen in your life, and if you ignore them, you will go down the wrong path. And so my body started reacting different to alcohol. Maybe it's just I'm getting old. You know what it is? Like, and then so I was doing a show, and there was a couple things that happened. I had one drink at my dad's house, and it was around Thanksgiving, and I drove home, and my son was in the back seat. One drink, regardless how you slice it, I just thought like, yo, if anything would have happened, like. So that was like, yo, I'm never even taking a sip of alcohol if I'm driving, especially.
And that was a sign that you're talking about.
Yeah, that was one.
One
and
sign
then,
that you can't ignore.
And then I went to a wedding and I had one drink and I was like, my body feel funny. Off of one sip, I'm like, my body feel funny. Then that happened again. I did a show in Vegas and that was the night where I'm like, yo, I think I'm going to be sober. I had a drink and I was like, no, you know, I had my rider there. I had 2 bottles of Ciroc, a bottle of Jameson, all my stuff there. Took a drink and I'm like, my body feel weird. And then my homie, this is actually crazy. My homie from when I was a kid, who's a lot older than me because he's my brother's friend. The first person I ever smoked a joint with when I was like 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
He was at the show opening for me, which I didn't know was going to happen. He's from Illinois, lives in Vegas, was opening for me. He is vegan, celibate, sober, all these things. And like, when I tell you he was the man and like every girl wanted him, he's a college athlete, football player, whatever.
When you knew him back
he was my actual role model when I was a kid.
Wow.
Like, I want to be just like this guy.
Oh shit.
He raps and he plays sports and every girl wants him. And he smokes weed and that's mad cool. As a 9-year-old, right?
Yeah.
So he was at the show and I just spent the entire night talking to him in the green room and we were just talking about all this stuff and I'm like, you know what, bro? I'm sober now.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was the night that I stopped.
Talk about a full circle moment.
And
dude.
A sign.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's like, this drink don't taste
ignore,
right.
Yeah.
Let me talk to my mans who's here, and boom, talked in the green room.
That's the last sign you needed.
Yeah.
And from that point, you haven't,
Yeah, and I guess to even bring more the why. What's the why, right? For anybody that's watching, like, why would you not drink? First of all, save mad money.
Yeah.
You know
of
what I
course.
mean? Like there's better things you could save, you could spend your money on than alcohol. B, if you really think about any time you've made a bad decision or stepped out of character, it's probably when you were under the influence of something. So for me, it's like, you know, take it back to the It's Different Now song. Like, never cheated on a girl sober. I never stepped out. I never, even like the biggest fights that I had with any person in my life, always were intoxicated.
Yeah.
You know, any decision that you might not be safe, like mobbing around random cities, walking by myself at 2 a.m, drunk, or when I got arrested, wasted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm just like, yo, any decision I ever made was on the back end of, like, any bad decision was on the back end of that. And it's like, if I wouldn't have been drunk, and then you're really not present.
Exactly.
You think it makes you more present, and like, oh, it takes my nerves away, so I'm more present. It's like, there's so much of my life I don't remember from being drunk. There's so many decisions that I made in moments that people would tell me about the next day. Like, yo, do you remember you did this?
Yeah.
No, bro, I don't actually.
Yeah.
So it just, now being a husband, a father, and even a manager, like when I went to talk to a bunch of agents at Michael Minnelli's show, it was like, yo, normally like I'd get back to the room and the next day I'd be like, was I a little too much? Or, you know what I mean? Like, was that a good conversation? But now it's like, being sober, I'm like, that was a great convo. This guy really rocks with me. I really rock with him. And you actually see the other people and it turns you off. Like, matter of fact, Mike's agent decided to be sober after my sobriety.
Wow.
And it came, like, I'm not gonna lie, like the first time we linked up, he was pretty drunk and I was like, yo, I kind of don't like this, bro. You know, so like he decided to be sober after seeing my sobriety journey. And he called me, he was like, bro, you really inspired me. I'm 30 days sober. Then he called me again at 60 days. Yeah.
Damn. So
it's, once again, it's cool that like me trying to be a better person for me has influenced other people to be better.
For sure.
One of the best things I've ever done. Every decision is for sure the decision that I'm supposed to make. Every sign is never ignored. And then every, I guess, conflict is handled with a sense of logic and intent that you wouldn't have if you were under the influence.
Absolutely. And I think it's a huge point to bring up too. Like, the amount is a big thing, because a lot of people might like watch this and be like, I mean, I only have like a beer or whatever. And it's like, yeah, cool. Like, if you can, like, if anyone, like, we're not saying every single person in the world needs to be sober, but it's just like, he's just saying you can have a potentially better life. 9 out of 10 times your life will get better. I want to say 10 out of 10 times.
Right.
Your life will get better if you are drinking constantly every day and then cut it out. Like,
for sure.
No matter how much you're drinking. So it's just like,
and you're killing your body.
Literally, like poison in
Haven't
your
even
body.
mentioned that.
Yeah.
You're drinking poison.
Yeah. So it's like, because there's so many people that I feel like defend drinking because they are drinkers themselves. And I think that's like, it comes from a mindset of insecurity.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people need to be like a little bit more like real with themselves.
Yeah.
You know, because it's really easy to just like, it's just one.
Right.
It's just one.
Right.
It's just, and it's just like, that's, hate to say it, but that's like the mindset of an addict. And it's just like,
well, and yeah, even me, I was kind of there. Like, my goal was 60 days. I think that was my goal when I started, which I had done it before. I'd cleansed before and done, I couldn't get to 60. I got to 50 and was like, this is good enough. I'm straight.
right.
But my goal was 60. And on this one, it just, the goalpost kept moving. And I was just like, there's always going to be an excuse to drink.
Yeah.
Whether it be, oh, well, I can't do shows sober, or oh, it's a birthday party, or oh, it's this, or oh, it's that, it's the homies this, whatever. There's always going to be a reason to drink. But even if it's not just stopping alcohol, anytime you have the self-control to put something down, you get a new sense of confidence that you didn't have before.
Yeah.
No matter what your vice is.
That's right.
If you can stop, for the fellas out there, you stop jacking off, you're going to be a more confident person. Whether you think that's crazy or not, you do that, you have a control over yourself that 99% of people don't have. You have a discipline about yourself that 99% of people do not have. And once you can tap into that and you realize like, yo, I'm in control. You're in control of a lot of things that can lead to better things for yourself. And once you realize and once you can build that discipline for yourself, you control the food you eat, you control the time you spend on certain things, you control everything you put into your body. So it's like, yo, once you find that discipline, your confidence level is going to be at an all-time high.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Anybody that's listening to this, take this advice. This is like someone that's seen both sides. Like you really saw both sides to the point where it's like blackout drunk getting arrested to like now sober, successful business owner, like a beautiful family and like all that, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like to live both sides. I think that is the reason why you feel like you can be a inspiration to these other people as well. It's just like, I've been there. Like, I know what you're feeling, man. But it's just like, I'm just letting you know, like, I'm way better version of myself than I was 10 years ago because I cut out alcohol.
Facts.
Yeah, I needed to bring that up because I was like, that was a big thing about this album because even when I met you, you were not sober. So it's like to kind of meet you at like that tail end of like you drinking and then getting sober. It's like seeing that transition has been wild. So then now like, yeah, I feel like you're almost like a different person mentally.
Yeah.
Which is
I felt it on tour for sure.
Yeah, that's good.
You feel it on tour for sure.
So talking about tour, Ikigai tour coming up.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. You just dropped that recently.
Yeah.
So that's how many shows you got on there? Like 30 shows or something like that? Dude?
I think it might be 27, 28.
Yeah, it's close.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, dude. It's a big run.
Shows.
So they can go to onlyfuturistic.com.
Yeah.
And they can buy tickets for that.
Yeah.
But
link is always in the bio.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? The link is always in the bio. When people, by now?
Yeah.
By now? For the last 12 years, the link has been in the bio. Anything you need, it's there.
Yeah, man. Exactly.
Always.
But I mean, if you don't go to the bio, just go to onlyfuturistic.com.
Facts.
So look up the tour. So I want to talk about, now we talked about the album a little bit. I want to talk about family because I mean, that's a big part of your life. And I think that's something that you've always had people close to you that are family, helped you with business. And I mean, now you have your own family. I just kind of want to talk about like the challenges of like having, like keeping family close, but like also kind of having a certain boundary. Cause I know some family has cross certain boundaries, especially financially, and it kind of like changed relationships to a certain degree and like kind of talk about like the challenges and how you manage like keeping the family close, making sure people know that you love them, but like also like you kind of can't be everyone's savior, if that makes sense.
I guess there's two parts of it, right? It's kind of like when you have, so you grow up with a family, you know, you're a kid and you grow up with this family and you don't really know anything different because it's your family, right? Then as you get older and you know, you're trying to find the right woman and then you want to have kids with that woman and you want to build your own family, you realize all of these flaws and all of these things that you grew up with that you might not want to do. And you realize the good things too, like, yo, I really rocked with this. Like, I want to make sure we continue this tradition in my family. And then the other thing that happens is like your family partially becomes your extended family. Like there's nobody more important than my wife and my about to be 3 kids. There's nobody more important than that. So if in the past, right, like if you're talking to a girl and it's like people look at you crazy, like, why would you put your girl before, you know, the whole bros before, you know, all of that situation? It's like, well, once you get married, you guys are now never going to equal what my wife is to me.
Yeah.
She is top priority. So if you can't respect my wife, if you can't respect my decisions within what I'm doing with my family, if you can't respect the way that I'm raising my kids, if you can't love my family, and if you show any signs of like anything that could negatively affect them and their energy and my energy that goes towards them, you're no longer welcome.
Right.
And so I think that that's one of those things that obviously everybody's different, and you love everybody. But at the end of the day, you have to really think about what type of influences you want in your household and what type of people you want around your kids. And from the things that people say, from the things that people do, the things they're planting in your kids' heads when they're sponges. It's like, so regardless of who it is, don't care who it is.
Yeah.
Once again, I can love you. I can be there for you. I can even help you, even if you might not deserve it. I can do all those things. But what I can't let you do is negatively impact my home and my family and my village and the thing that I'm the thing that I'm growing over here. This
Absolutely.
is the most important thing in the world. And that's the change that I think that's the change that for me in any of my other relationships, family, friends, or whatever, it's when you don't have that, it's hard to understand. And even a lot of my homies got married before me and had kids before me. And I'm like, this dude, I ain't seen this dude forever.
Right.
But it's like, now I get it.
You understand.
I completely get it because the time that I spend over here is the most precious. And anytime I'm away from my kids, like my wife feels the difference and I see the difference in their behaviors and how they're moving. And so it's just like, anytime I'm spending away from them is it has to be worth it.
Yeah.
It has to be for a reason. It has to have a purpose. So like, no, I'm not going, and thankfully I don't drink anymore, but like, no, I'm not going out with you. Like, no, I'm not going to the club. No, I'm not going to the bar with you. I'm not doing any of that because that's not more important to me than getting in the pool with my son from 5 till 7.
Yeah.
That's not more important than having dinner with my family, where in the past it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the main part about family is like, and no decision is just for me.
Right.
Any decision that I make in my life right now affects those 4 people.
Yeah.
I can't just pick up and go. I can't get a random hair and just be like, oh, I want to go travel and do this. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Every decision that I make has to have them at the forefront of it. Even touring or making music, like that wasn't something that I lightly just was like, yeah, I'm gonna just start doing this again, baby. It was like, baby, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I want to do. This is how I think it would, if I get back to that level that I was at, or even a new level or whatever level I'm at, I think this is how it would work. I think these are the rules and regulations of like, if I'm gone for this long, I got to fly back and do this. And like, if I book a tour that's this long, I need to like do a little gap in the middle or whatever. I think that everything within a family should be communicated and everything should be talked about and no decision should be made. And then, oh yeah, I made this decision. I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's not how,
100%, man. I mean, that's like, and that's a big like emphasis on your family and kind of having that be the central core of like who you care about now the most versus before you had your family, it was a lot about like you.
Yeah.
So it was a lot easier to probably have people around that maybe weren't the best people to have around you because like you didn't even necessarily realize that it like wasn't the best decision to have them around in the first place. But now like kind of seeing it through a different lens of like, I'm going to do what's best for my family versus like what's best for me directly. I think that kind of is a whole mindset shift right there.
Yeah. Well, and you got to think too, like even just energy, like if somebody isn't positively affecting my mood and my energy, now I'm thrown off and I'm bringing that into my home.
Right.
So like I do a really good job of like, I have to check it at the door no matter what. Like if I have it, like sometimes I get off work and take a deep breath before I walk into the house, like whatever. It don't matter. I'm daddy right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like,
switch it off.
You got to turn it off and be able to do that because I've found myself in the early stages of like, my son ain't doing nothing different today than he was doing yesterday, but my day was different. So I'm reacting and responding different than I was yesterday. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Because of energy that somebody else transferred to me, you know? So it's just like every decision. So even who I hang out with is a decision that I have to take responsibility for because it affects them.
Yeah, from the lens of like, how does this affect my family?
Yeah.
And that's huge, man. I'm so glad that you're at that point because I think that's something that even people that have families don't have that sometimes where they're still in the mindset of like, what's important for me? Yeah. And then those are the people that end up splitting. Right. And they end up, you know, like that. And that's unfortunate that like people have to get to that point before they realize that they were wrong And it's like the fact that you're in it right now and you're like, you're really realizing what you have.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing is like realizing what you have right now and like it can be gone.
Yeah.
Like if you fuck it up, it can be gone.
Yeah. And I've wanted it my whole life.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I've always said like, yo, I just want to be the best dad and the best husband I can possibly be. And it takes work just like anything else. To be the best artist in the world, it takes work. To be the best anything, to be good at your job, and not even the best, just to be good at anything, it takes work and it takes, you know, patience and it takes trust and it takes a grind. So like, none of that is beyond me. And so it's just like I know that it takes work, and I know that while doing it, it's like, cool, I'm not going to stress and I'm not going to transfer negative energy to any of them. And then on the reverse end, I will say, because sometimes, you know, people are like, oh, you give too much.
Yeah. You're
giving too much to your family. You're not making time for you. That's also important, is making time for you to do your own thing and for you to whatever it is you're into, to still do it. Because I have had homies on the reverse where it's like they get into a relationship and they lose themselves. They gain mad weight. They stop going to the gym. They stop going to do anything with anybody. They stop doing everything that made them happy and filled up their cup. And it's like, you can't pour from an empty cup. So if your cup is always empty, you can't give nothing over here because you're depleted. So that is something that, and there's a change in that. Like I had to learn, for me to really give myself the best day, I have to wake up at 4:45.
Yeah.
Because the only way I can do that, the only way that I have time to accomplish all the work stuff, get all the family time, is to have those 2 hours before they wake up to do me.
Yeah.
To stretch, to work out, to clean the crib, to do whatever thing I need to do that day by myself. And I always feel better. I don't do it every day. I should, and that's a goal of mine.
Right.
But every day I do that, I have a better day.
Yeah. And ultimately, that's a decision that affects your family. So it's
Exactly.
and it's like it kind of all goes back, like seeing it through that lens, where it's like you said, like if you're not filling your cup, you're gonna not have anything to give at the back end. So
yeah,
I love that, man. It's crazy that like I feel like some of this stuff is like, because of the sobriety too, it gives you a little bit more clarity, bro.
for sure.
It's like,
Well, and you wouldn't
100%.
even be capable of waking up at 4:45 if you spent the last night getting wasted.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
exactly.
And
That's
your
such a good point.
mood, like when I had that where I was hungover, laying on the ground with my son jumping on my back, and I'm like, yo, I can't even play with this shit right now.
Yeah,
you know, so
dude,
like all
yeah.
those things were determining factors.
Yeah, because I love that, man. And I mean, kind of talking about your immediate family. Paris is pregnant with your third baby right now.
Don't know how it
amazing.
Don't know how it happened.
But at one point, you did say that you wanted to have 3 kids,
I always said that.
and that's interesting. That like,
I literally said my whole life, I'm gonna have 2 boys and a girl, and the girl's gonna be the youngest. I said that my whole life.
and it was like the universe was like, all right, you're ready. you're ready for that third one.
3 under 3, bro.
I love that.
3
dude.
under 3. Melody Carter
Man,
coming soon.
it'll be so sweet to see
New
them.
baby dropping soon.
Yeah, new baby dropping.
Pew, pew, pew.
Hit the button. Oh my god. No, but I think that'll be
Yeah.
sweet for them to all grow up together,
Yeah.
and like kind of in that same age range.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. I mean, because even Cadence and Kiani are so like
Yeah.
close in age to that. I feel like they're like, you know,
They're
partners in
homies.
crime. Yeah,
Yeah,
It's like-
they're homies.
That's
They're
what's
homies
up,
for
dude.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Shout out the fam, dude.
Yeah.
It's I love it, and I'm glad to see that your personal growth has directly affected them too. Because I'm sure, I mean, Paris has been down from the beginning, and she's
Yeah,
been
bro.
through a lot with you. And I think the fact that she's still there speaks volumes about her character.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that she's able to see this change is probably so, like, almost like confirming that like you are her life partner, and like she just probably falls more in love with you the more that you become better versions of yourself.
Yeah. Facts.
So yeah,
Facts.
man. I love this. Yeah, so I guess the last thing I had on here was basically just like pushing people to things. And I know Ikigai is the first thing we want to really push people to.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to bring attention to? Anything else coming up that we should let people know? I mean, tour is coming up.
Yeah.
soon,
I
yeah.
mean, once again, I just kind of feel like this is the beginning of everything. So there'll be a lot of things to push people to. Yeah, just I think the main thing is in today's world, people don't consume anything how it should be consumed. Everything is quick. Everything is immediate. I feel like people don't take their time to really digest an album or digest a rollout plan or digest what somebody like artists really put their life into their music, you know? And I think a lot of times it's like a casual listen and it's this and it's that. And like the one thing that I really hope happens with this project, and I got to figure out a way to like really, really communicate it. I really hope that people sit down with this project and they think about it and they listen to it all the way through and they apply it and they grow from it. And, you know, even as people are following my journey, you know, it's like, that's the main thing. Like, I just want people to, like I always say, make sure they're happy in real life, not just on the internet. I want people to digest this. I want people to come to the shows with like an open mind and an open heart. I want people to be immersed in not just even what I'm doing, just be immersed in things that make you want to be better and stop ignoring the signs. So I guess with this project, like listen to it with, like I said, an open mind and an open heart and see what you can apply to your own life and see how it affects you. And, you know, music can do that.
Absolutely.
Music can really change your thought process about something. So I just hope that this project, like I said, my fans that loved The Greatest and whatever, there's always been, every album has deep songs on it. I've never just not talked about my life. So I think that this album though is just, I really hope people digest it and are open for it.
It's different, man. And I think this album, people are going to appreciate it in a different way that they appreciated your other albums.
Yeah.
And
Like don't listen to this album on your phone.
Yeah.
Like don't
Yeah.
don't listen to this album and have the homies around and talk over it, you know, like don't even listen to this album on a 10-minute car drive. Make sure you have a 36-minute car drive and listen to the whole thing. You know, like that's genuinely how I feel.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the way that you sequence the album, is it sequential to a certain degree? Like, is it like a story?
Yeah,
sorta?
like the beginning is kind of like a couple of more of the bangers. Like it obviously sets the tone. But then it's like, cool. I was even creating it. It's like I kind of feel like I let go of my ego as the album goes on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bit of an ego death, to where it's like, I want to. I'm sick of seeing these people that are in my spot that I left open. Like that's kind of like how I went into this album a little bit.
Right.
Was like, yo, I'd been doing this. Stop sleeping on me. Right. So you kind of get that, and then you get like, wait a minute, that's not the point of this.
Yeah.
And then it's like self-reflection, and then it's growth, and it's the things that really matter.
Wow.
So that's kind of like the progression of the project is like, ooh, I'm finna kill y'all. Then it's like, wait a minute, why am I trying to kill y'all? Wait, let me kill the old me.
Yeah.
All right, here's the new me.
Right. And
Yeah.
it comes back to the theme of Ikigai, finding that inner peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, I mean, it's
I didn't even
beautiful,
think
man.
about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's kind of the flow of it. Yeah,
where it's like it's a story.
yeah.
And that's why you should consume it all as one. And
Yeah.
I think that's something that's in the TikTok world that we live in, it's lost. Sometimes people get attached to the singles and totally forget about like the body of work that is the art piece. Like I feel
Yeah.
like that's when albums started, that's what people were writing for, was the whole thing,
Yeah.
not just for the singles to pop off.
Yeah.
It was just like the singles would help promote the whole thing, but it's just like people would go to the store to buy the album, like not the single. I mean,
Yeah.
back when records were a thing, singles were a thing, but then you would still go buy the LP when it dropped.
Yeah.
So it's like you'd have the 45 and the regular. So
Yeah.
it's just like, this is no different. It's like, listen to the singles, but then listen to the full album from Ikigai all the way down to the top or to the bottom.
Yeah. Well, and I think one thing we didn't touch on is this album has no features, which people are freaking out about a little bit on
Really?
social media, because I dropped 4 songs or 3 songs with features on them right now. Those are not on the album.
So the singles that are right now, those are not on the album.
Those are not on the album.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that basically means when you drop the album, it will be 100% new songs. Except
Ikigai's
Ikigai.
on
Yeah.
there.
I mean, Ikigai dropped first, right?
Yeah. Ikigai and Right Now. Those
Okay.
don't have features on them, and those dropped already.
Okay.
Yeah, but the other ones, there's new things on there.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. Which
That's-
once again, like,
That's a big
that's not a
thing.
numbers play. That's a genuinely like, I want to give you my uninterrupted story.
Yeah.
I want to give you me. You know, and crazy enough, I've never done that.
I was
I've never
just
had
gonna
an
say, I was
album
like,
with no features.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like that, and because we talked about in this interview the importance that you've placed on features.
Yeah,
So it's
and
like
no curse words. Completely clean.
Completely clean, radio friendly.
Radio
dude.
friendly. All you DJs out there, it's clean.
Yo,
Yeah.
yo,
It's a power of pine saw, baby.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Yo, but I mean, I think the whole album definitely encompasses a certain part of your life, and I think it's like a timestamp in where you are today. And so I'm super stoked to hear it is in its entirety finished, because I mean, I have like early masters and stuff.
Oh yeah,
like,
it's way different.
To hear the new one, I mean, I have to just get the link from you.
Yeah, it's way different. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
But all right, cool, man. Well, everybody, please go follow Futuristic online. It's at Only Futuristic. Go to onlyfuturistic.com. Go buy the tickets to the tour coming up soon. This will be dropping just a few days before the pre-order. So you can go to Spotify and Apple Music and pre-order the album.
Yeah.
So the
There's
album.
a vinyl too.
So
First vinyl.
First vinyl he's ever dropping. Yo, we might have to get it on the wall.
You gotta get it on the wall,
dude. If we could, that'd be sick. Actually, I'm super down.
Yeah, there'll be a vinyl.
That'd be
and there
sweet.
may or may not be a book. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot.
Yes. So it's
There's a lot. I'm not even saying that to be mysterious. I genuinely don't know. I'm working on it. There may or may not be. It might.
He's been writing it. Yeah.
It might get carried over. Not actually. I wrote a whole book for this album, and it wasn't. It's crazy. I wrote a whole book and recorded a whole audiobook to it. It's an hour and 30-minute audible.
You actually did it?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I did it very early. Every time I wrote a song, I wrote a chapter. And then reading it back, it felt too much like a biography. And then there was also parts which I felt like weren't my story to tell. Even though it was a part of my story, I didn't feel comfortable giving, and I've done that before. I feel like I've selfishly put out people's, I guess, dirt or baggage or whatever you want to call it for my own, I guess benefit. Yeah, because it's my music, it's my story, it's something that I make a profit off of. But yeah, I read it back and I was just like, and listened to it back and I'm like, I don't think I could put this out. I don't think it's fair to all the people that were involved in my story. So yeah, I that's not coming out, but I've been working on a different one that's not necessarily personal. It's more of like internal for everybody else.
So are you reworking the original piece, or are you just writing
It's completely
something
different.
new? Oh wow.
It's
so
completely
we might
different.
not we'll never see the
I don't
original.
think, nobody has it.
Yeah.
Nobody has it. Yeah.
That will stay in the vault.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, dude. There's a lot for people to look out for, man. So the album drops on what day?
Good question. June 21st.
June 21st.
The pre-order is June 7th. Album drops June 21st.
June 21st. So go pre-order the album. So this will come out just a few days after the pre-order is out. So, and then go grab tickets, man, because you're gonna want to see him. This might be, one of the last tours for a minute. I feel like you haven't toured for a second.
This is my first headline, but I plan to continue to tour. I plan on continuing to do 2 tours a year. I think once again it's a disservice to not, just because I feel like there's a message that I need to give, and it's definitely a part of the fan interaction and just the human to human interaction that I've definitely missed. And going on this last tour kind of reignited that for me, and I genuinely feel like this is the start of a new career for me. So I'll definitely be on tour again. I will say that this is probably going to be the last tour that I perform a lot of my classic records, though.
Ooh.
Yeah, this will probably be the last tour where you get a bunch of classic records. I think from here on out, it's going to be more like I dropped an album and I'm touring that album and I'm performing that album. And so this tour, you'll get the new album and you'll get the classics, but like even performing those on the Prof tour, like they just don't resonate with me the same. And like I said, all my music is clean and I want my kids to be able to go to my shows. Not on no Mickey Mouse Disney BS. It's just like, I want to give a representation of who I am today to the people who resonate with who I am today, and not backtrack just because something is a quote unquote independent hit or whatever you want to call it, or like whatever. It's like, if you people like my old stuff, go bump my old album. You could do that on your time. But I want to give a great show for the new body of work that I put together.
Yeah, I love the way you put that, man. It's exactly. It's like you want to give them the current version of yourself.
Exactly.
You don't want to give them the old version just because it was hot then.
It doesn't feel genuine, and I almost I cringe at a lot of my lyrics. I cringe at a lot of my old lyrics, and I know it's a part of growth and who I was, but it's just like, that's not what I want my crowd chanting back to me. That's not what I want people to. I don't want people to leave the show feeling that energy. No matter how hyped those songs are, I want people to leave the show once again feeling like, yo, I'm about to go conquer the world. Yeah. I'm about to go be a better person. I'm motivated. I want to go, so that's the energy I want to give. So this will probably be my last tour doing
the old school.
Yeah.
The OGs. Well, I mean, it's different now.
It's different now.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Yeah, on that note, my fellow Martians, thank you so much for listening, watching. Please go follow Futuristic at Only Futuristic on all socials. Follow at On Mars Pod, and we will see you guys next time on Mars. Sheesh. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this episode of the On Mars Pod and for sticking around to the end, man. I really appreciate you guys. You are the real Martians. Like this video, comment below what your favorite part was, what was most inspiring to you. Subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications here on future interviews coming out soon, and also follow us on Instagram at On Mars Pod. Love you guys so much. We will see you next time on Mars.
Two things I've never been good at is interviews and photo shoots. Not that I'm not good at doing them. I just don't make it a priority to do interviews or photo shoots. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. This one time at band camp.
Hell yes.
So much probably to cover.
History, current, future, everything all in one without being too much. Ready?
Born ready.